So one of the reasons why I love making mozzarella is the simplicity of it. All the supplies I need is a thermometer, some rennet, some citric acid, some cheese salt, stainless steel pot, a slotted spoon, a knife, and a colander, and something to drip my way into. It's super easy. It's just getting my milk in my pan and adding some citric acid and bringing it to the proper temp and adding some rennet, and then bringing it to the proper temp again, and it's just easy. Okay, I've got about 2 gallons of milk in there, so I'm going to double my recipe. So for 1 gallon of whole milk, you would use 1 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid. Let's see if I can get the focus. There you go. Mixed into some water. And then once you bring it up to temperature, you add the rennet. So I'm going to be doubling this recipe for anybody who's curious. This is the recipe, and this is where it's from. I got this printout with my cheese supplies when I ordered them. If you want to take a screenshot of this, my methods might be a little bit different, so if you want to follow along with me, or you can just follow that recipe. So, because I'm doing 2 gallons, I'm going to be saying the 2 gallon measurements. 2 1/2 teaspoons of citric acid, just dissolved into some cool water. The water amount doesn't really matter as long as it's enough to just help dissolve that citric acid. That's pretty well dissolved. And then I add that to my milk before I heat it up. So, make sure I get all my citric acid out. See, make sure there's a little bit in there. So, just like that. And then I gently but thoroughly stir it in so that it's coming into contact with the milk. And then I put my temperature. I turn my stove on and bring it up to 88 degrees. Then while I am bringing it up to temperature, keeping an eye on the milk, you never leave milk alone on the stove because it'll scald real easy. Then I add my liquid rennet. Alright, so I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of liquid rennet to my water. Cool water again. Alright, Liam's starting to get tired, so I might have to be cutting some of this video short. But once you get it to 88 degrees, then you take it off the heat and you add your rennet that you've already prepared, and then you set it aside for about 15 minutes and let it curdle. So Liam crawled up into my lap and nursed and fell asleep while I had to add the rennet, so I wasn't taping then, but I added it and I put the lid on and I let it sit. It's been 10 minutes now, so I'm just going to check that curdle. Some people only wait 5 minutes, some people wait 30 minutes. Really, it depends on how well it's setting. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice. Oh yeah. You see how the whey is separating already? That's perfect. That's ready to go. Oh yeah, baby. It's gonna be good. So now what I do is I cut my curds in a checkerboard pattern into about 1-inch pieces. When I went to go lay Liam down, he got woke up because right then the parrot decided to squawk, and he woke up and said, nope, I'm going to play some more. So that's what you hear in the background. They're playing with the tablet. Roman, can you lower that down? That's very loud. And they're playing with the tablet and the weight pad to try to keep them quiet. Maybe they'll fall asleep again if I keep things calm. Alright, so that's it. Just, you know, doesn't have to be pretty. Just approximately 1-inch squares. Some people cut their knife at an angle, like that, to get the squares under it cut as well. But I just kind of do that with my spoon as I stir it. So I'm going to put it back on the burner and bring it back up to heat. And I'm going to gently stir it, trying to keep the curds somewhat separated while I bring it up to about 100 and, well, let me double check that. I think it's 108, but let me make sure on that. Alright, so when I say that you stir the curds, I mean like very gently. Try not to break them all up. You're just going to cook them. Now, I'm not even warm enough yet, I think, to be even stirring. So I'm just going to gently rotate them in the pan, just to keep them from gathering on the bottom too much. And I'm going to continue to bring it up over medium heat to 105 to 108 degrees. And what this does is it cooks these curds a little bit and gets them tighter. And once I get up to 108 degrees, I'm going to start ladling them off and putting them over into my colander, over the bowl, of course, so that the whey drips out. So that'll be my next step, is to ladle them out once I'm at the right temperature. So once I reach 108 degrees, I'm going to turn the pan off and move it off the burner and continue stirring for another 5 minutes. Now you see how it's starting to clump together more? That's okay now. We can let it do that now. And so 5 minutes of gentle stirring to keep the temperature distributed throughout the curds evenly. And then we will ladle off into the colander that's set over a wide, large bowl to gather the whey in the bowl. Okay, so you just strain out some of the majority of the whey over a colander, and look at how the curds are already got that stretchiness to them. We're going to do the heat treatment next. We do that in the microwave, and it gets it hotter to 130 degrees, I think, and then we can stretch it and stuff. But right now, I'm going to eat this. I encourage you to always try your curds and taste them, and yum. It's such a nice elastic texture. I love it. So when you're experimenting with cheese, it's a good idea to know what each stage is like. So I encourage you, taste test. Alright, because I did a double batch, I divide it in half. And I squeezed this one as much as I could to get most of the whey out. And now I'm going to microwave it for 30 seconds and squeeze more whey out. And do it at 30-second intervals of microwaving. And take the temperature till it's up to 135 or so. And it's going to be too hot for me to touch. But I'm going to stretch it and play with it until it turns into a nice elasticity and shininess. And then it's done. And I just form it into a ball. Alright, so I just microwaved it for 30 seconds, and then with clean hands, I am pressing the whey out and rolling it and folding it into a ball. And I can tell just by touching it that it's not high enough temperature because I can actually touch it. Ow! Don't bump my bad elbow. Alright, so I'm going to pour the rest of that whey into the bowl that has the whey, and I'm going to do another 30 seconds. Quick tip while I think of it. When you're making cheese and you're using your hands a lot and kneading the cheese or squeezing the whey out, you tend to wash your hands off a lot and then grab the dish towel and dry your hands. That's what I had in my cheese, so try not to use the dish towel. Drip dry. Just drip dry. And go back to the cheese making, because you're just going to end up getting the lint from the towel in your cheese. So try to be careful about that. Another tip from Rose. So the first 30 seconds is mainly to get more of that whey out. And you see a lot more whey was trapped in between the curds. And it's not hot at this point. It's not hot enough that I can't touch it. So I know that it needs another 30 seconds. I'm going to pop it back in the microwave. So then I stretch it. When I get to the right temperature of 135, most people have to use gloves. I have to use my hands. So I just stretched it a bunch already, and you see how shiny and elastic it is? That's the texture you're looking for before you roll it into your final ball shape. And I did put some salt on there and made sure that it got a little bit of salt, you know, just a teaspoon or so. I didn't really measure. And that is my fresh mozzarella. So I'm going to do the other one as well. Beautiful, isn't it? So the next 30 seconds, and I feel like that, oh yeah, that feels really hot. Stick my thermometer in there and make sure that we got the right temperature while I'm letting the temperature come up, watching it, and I am kneading it as I go, because if it is the right temperature, I want to be kneading while it's at the correct temperature. And it is very hot to touch, probably hotter than most people can handle, so gloves would be appropriate for this. So I begin kneading it. Yeah, it's pretty darn close to 130. So I'm gonna, the way it's acting, yeah. So here we go. Is it gonna stretch? Oh yeah. Nice and stretchy. So we give it a couple of good stretches. And as we stretch, we're squeezing out more whey. You don't want to overwork your cheese or it'll get tough, which isn't bad. I did that, you know, several times just because. And it just was like a hard mozzarella. I used it for my lasagna and it was amazing. So, that's the one nice thing about cheese, is even if you're aiming for a soft, fresh mozzarella texture, you still end up with cheese, no matter what. So don't feel discouraged if you get it wrong the first time. Just eat it still and try it again, because it takes practice to get the feel. Like, you notice I kept on saying it felt like the right temperature. It's definitely a feel. So that shininess, again, that is what we're looking for. So I'm going to call that done before I overwork it. I hope you get a chance to make some fresh mozzarella yourself. I'm going to try to host a workshop for your friends and do a little class for them so that they can try it out. So if you're local, come and see me and check it out. So I just realized that I forgot to salt this second one that I made. So I'm going to make, you can make a salt brine, 2% salt brine, and pour it over it and keep it in that liquid. Or you can just have it in unsalted cheese. That's fine too. It's still going to be delicious. So if you forget to add the salt, no worries. But if you want to add it afterwards, you can do it by putting the whole ball into a brine. Another thing I was going to mention is I have it in the shape of a bowl. And that's fine for me. I'm not trying to do anything fancy. But if I wanted to do like little appetizer type situation where I was making little balls of mozzarella, I would want to have a bowl of ice water sitting nearby. And once I have them formed into balls, when they're hot, drop them into the ice water and they'll hold their shape. Have it all stretched out into a big long rope. If you drop it into ice water, then look what we have made. String cheese. Homemade string cheese. Here, Rowan, will you pull it apart for me? Are you naked? Oh gosh, can't put that in the video. He just got out of the bath. I'm gonna go dress the kids, but look at that. That's awesome. These kids are so happy about this.